What is that burning ball in the sky? No one knows here in England. So come a little bit closer, ladies and gentlemen. I don't bite. Come on. Sure? Yeah, of course I don't bite. Not today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh God, I think some of you've got a hangover. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. That's good. I want my army to be loud and proud. You are my own private army today, ladies and gentlemen. So sharpen your elbows. When we're moving through the Tower of London, we move quick. We move quick and we get to the next place as quick as we can. So move the rest of these tourists out of the way because you're not tourists. Is that a deal? Yes. Good. Now it's nice to see so many of you smiling today. So smile. Come on. Good smile at the back, sir. Well done. Smile. Come on. Keep smiling, everybody. You're all on holiday. Who's in work tomorrow? Good. Oh, God, there's loads of us today, so I better make this good, haven't I, really? Well, even though my aim today is keep you all smiling, my tour comes with a PG rating, so give me a ooh. Ooh. So I'm going to be talking about punishment. I'm going to be talking about torture. I'm going to be talking about imprisonments. And I might even talk about the worst kind of punishment here at the Tower of London, if I get a chance, marriage. I can say that, ladies and gentlemen, because my wife's inside there and she can't hear me. So are you all ready? Yes. Good. Our story here at the Tower of London begins in the year 1066, when William, the Duke of Normandy, better known as William the Conqueror, defeated the Anglo-Saxon King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. Yeah, but there wasn't so many of you that time, was there? Well done, young lady. You're quick off. You're first on the buzzer there. You're not a history teacher, are you?
I was a history major.
In what? In what era?
What era?
What era? What area?
Who actually is American history? But
So it's not real history, is it? So we gave you that history, so our history still wins. You fell right into that one, sorry. So, if there is no history teachers here today, I can pretty much tell you whatever I want. Is that right? Anyway, he was crowned King William I of England on Christmas Day of that year. However, he had to continue to fight his newly conquered subjects as they didn't take too kindly to Norman domination. William was looking for somewhere to impress and scare those citizens of London. So he chose a site just inside the Eastern City Wall, where once an old Roman fort had once stood around 600 AD. And it was here, in 1078, they would authorise the building of his first royal palace and fortress in England. And today, we refer to it as the White Tower. And it's situated just behind you, where the Union flag is flying. And we'll have a much better view of it once we're inside the fortress. Now, as you're facing that way, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 200 years, monarchs here at the Tower of London continued to add to the defences. Where the red brick roof is, that's known as the inner ballium or defensive wall. And it contains 13 smaller towers that were completed around 1220. The outer wall, the closest wall to you, which was completed around 1280, contains a further 6 towers, all facing southwards towards the River Thames, that would have defended the Tower of London from attack if it ever did come up from the river. To the north of this outer wall, there are 3 strong bastions known as Legs Mount, North Mount and Brass Mount. Okay, if you turn around, look at the one there, that's Legs Mount there. Look at the way it was designed, ladies and gentlemen. It was indeed designed to house cannons inside and on top, which of course would have defended the Tower of London from attack from the city and those nasty, horrible Londoners of the day. Give me a ooh. I can say that, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm from the north of England. Now, while you're facing that way, the first line of defence here at the Tower of London was indeed the moat or the ditch. It was dug during the reign of King Edward IV. The moat is over 120 feet wide, and when fully excavated, it would have been 15 feet deeper than you can pretty much see today. And it was designed to use the tidal flow of the River Thames to keep it clean. Twice a day, the sluice gates, the big giant sluice gates would have been opened. That's me opening the sluice gates. Okay, and the River Thames would have flowed in the moat, around the moat, and then back out again at low tide. And this system seemed to work rather well at first. However, all the rubbish and excrement was thrown into the moat from the city. It soon filled up and became the largest cesspit in London and source of pestilence for those that lived in and around the Tower of London. This, ladies and gentlemen, continued for a very, very stinky 500 years. 500 years of stink, ladies and gentlemen, until 1843, when the Constable of the Tower of London, the Duke of Wellington, the Iron Duke, the hero of Waterloo, he asked permission from Queen Victoria to have the moat drained. And thankfully she agreed, and he had it filled up with sand and shingle pretty much to the height that you can see today, and he put it to good use as an exercise area, one I should use more often but don't, and a parade ground for his troops based here at the Tower Garrison. Now the Tower of London itself has been, let's say, used for a number of other things throughout the years. Firstly, the crown jewels and royal regalia have been safely stored here since 1303. It was an armoury used for the storage of warlike stores and provisions. The official records and papers of kings and queens' courts have also been stored here at the Tower of London till the middle of the 17th century when it moved to form the Public Records Office. It was a royal menagerie, or zoo, wherein the royal collection of lions, tigers and bears, oh my good, you're on my wavelength, were held here at the Tower of London until 1835 when it moved to Regent's Park, where the newly opened London Zoo now situates, or of the day would have been. It was also a, let's say, a storage for warlike stores and provisions, explosives, etc. However, this, I think, has to be one of the most famous prison complexes in the world. Now, the Tower of London itself has housed over 3,500 criminals throughout the years, 31 successful escapes. Shh, don't tell anybody, okay, because if you do, you're going to add to the unsolved murders. There has been 13 unsolved murders here at the Tower of London. Now, thinking of prisoners, I want you to just turn around and look up to Tower Hill. Can you all see that nice, large, impressive white building on the left-hand side with those statues inside it? Just below and right of there is a small area known as Trinity Green. Right, you can turn and face me now, guys. Thank you. You've seen enough. It's just full of buses and tourists. You're not tourists today. It's known as Trinity Green, ladies and gentlemen. It was up there where the public execution site was located. Now, between the 14th and the 18th century, over 700 people have been executed up there on Tower Hill by the means of the block and axe, and amongst them were over 75 men of noble birth. Now, let's go back in time, where I can tell you a little bit of something about the executions, or how it would have gone up there on the day of execution. So let's just pause and imagine the scene up there on the day of an execution. Why are you smiling? Thousands of bloodthirsty people just like yourselves would have been gathered around that raised platform or scaffold to witness the executions of the day. Having delivered their final speeches and said their prayers, the prisoner would have been made to kneel down and place their neck on a block of oak. They would then give a word or even a signal, and the executioner, if he was sober, would hopefully bring down that axe and behead the victim with one clean stroke. The executioner would then bend down, picking up the severed and still bleeding head by its hair, holding it aloft for all to see, blood running down his arm. Blood running down his arm and dripping. Drip, drip. Turning to the gathered crowd, he would proclaim, "Behold the head of a traitor! So die all traitors. God save the king." And it's then when a cheer would come from the crowd. Right, you lot, that's the final warning. You can do much better than that, I'm sure. You're all a vocal lot, aren't you? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let me be a little bit more descriptive for you then. Now, there was nothing to do in those days apart from squeezing your own boils, okay? So, there was no Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, no Wi-Fi. Imagine that, kids, no Wi-Fi. Don't worry, your hearts don't stop beating if the Wi-Fi turns off. So, all they had to do was get the kids, let's get a picnic, let's go see royals die. Right, you lot. Can you see their heads? Yes! Come on, get in there to it. Can you see their heads? Yes! No, you can't, because it's in that hand. Behold the head of a traitor, so die all traitors, God save the king. And a cheer would come to the crowd. Yes! That's how I like it, loud and proud. The head would then be squeezed and pushed and forced onto a soldier's pike and paraded through the streets of London, past medieval Starbucks and Tesco. Just over there. Towards London Bridge. London Bridge? Tower Bridge. London Bridge. The head was then taken off that pike and squeezed onto a further spike on London Bridge. Why? Because it was the only bridge across the River Thames. And of course it was the gateway into the city. And it was placed on there as a warning that awaited all would-be traitors. Meanwhile, the headless corpse up there would have been kicked down off that scaffold site and placed into a small handcart where a man would bring it back into the Tower of London very, very quickly, where it would be buried in an unmarked grave, a traitor's grave, at the Chapel Royal of St. Peter Advincula, which, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are now going to take a step closer to. So, ladies and gentlemen, is my army with me?
Yes!
Shall we take the Tower of London?
Yes!
Okay, make a gap for me here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to lead you to the outer ward. Follow me. I haven't finished yet. Stop being a tourist, sir. Come on. Come on, guys. I've got 1,000 years of history to get in today in the next 5 hours. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're now stood in what's known as the outer ward of the Tower of London. That is to say, you are now stood between the inner and the outer defensive wall. The inner wall is over 50 feet high, and the outer wall is over 28 feet thick. To your left is Mint Street, so named because it was here where all the coins in the realm and empire were designed and produced until the year 1850. A very, very famous Englishman, a famous English inventor, Sir Isaac Newton, he of course invented gravity. He was the keeper of the mint, and he lived in the upper windows of the mint there. So this is where the start of the mint would have been. These are now homes to some of my fellow Yeoman warders and our families. So we do indeed live here at the Tower of London. I have an 8-foot thick bathroom window, ladies and gentlemen, so when I open my window, it's 8 foot from my window to the arrow slot. It's great for keeping your beer cold. Okay, to your right-hand side, you can see a tall, narrow archway. This is known as the Sallyport or the Royal Entrance. Beyond that archway, there are a set of gates. These gates date back more than 650 years. The Royal Entrance itself, ladies and gentlemen, was sort of used as, let's say, a tradesman's entrance. The Royals would, of course, use the River Thames as a highway and gained access into the Tower of London very, very quickly. It was at those gates that King Henry VIII so lovingly greeted his second bride, Anne Boleyn. Put your phone away, young lady. You're my volunteer. Thank you, Anne. So we would have greeted Anne. Your mummy is royalty today. So we would have greeted her right there, ladies and gentlemen, looking at her in the eyes. Of course, sunglasses weren't invented in those days. Thank you. And he would have said something like this: Anne. Hello, Anne. How are you, Anne? Anne, I will promise to love you, Anne, for the rest of your life. Poor Anne was fated to return to the Tower of London. Well done, thank you. Poor Anne was fated to return to the Tower of London some 3 years later for a very different reason and through a very different gate. That gate is known as Tracey's Gate. Well done, I've got some history buffs down at the bottom. Okay, and we will very shortly be going to Tracey's Gate. Earlier on in the tour, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned there was a number of towers in the inner wall. Can anybody remember how many?
3.
Who said 13? Winner, chicken dinner. Well done, young lady. You can have yesterday off. There is indeed 13 towers within the inner wall. The inner wall here. Remember that one? That one there, yes. Just here on my right side. And you're now stood in front of one of those towers. This is known as the bell tower. It's known as the bell tower because on the top it contains a small white belfry. And guess what's in there, ladies and gentlemen?
A bell.
Easy. That bell dates back to around about 1615. It's the oldest surviving curfew and alarm bell in London. If that bell was ever sounded in the olden days in an alarm, it would signal for all the gates to close. The one of 2 portcullises that we have here, the one is in the Bywood Tower, the other one is in the Bloody Town. I'll show you where that is. And the battlements, these battlements would have been manned in defence. The bell tower is the strongest of the 13 towers in the inner wall, and as such it makes it a very, very formidable prison. There is only 2 circular prison chambers within the bell tower, an upper one known as the strong room and a lower one just above your heads. Many, many famous prisons have been held inside the bell tower, including the man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More. And he was the one-time Lord Chancellor of England. And he was in prison for refusing to accept King Henry VIII as the supreme head of the Church in England. Well, at the very same time, and for the very same reason, John Fisher, the Bishop of Rochester, he was imprisoned in the upper chamber, the strong room. Both men were to suffer terribly, but neither could be persuaded to abandon their religious beliefs, and so 400 years later they were led out. Yeah, honestly. No, 400 years later, ladies and gentlemen, after they were beheaded up on Tower Hill, they were canonised as saints. Another famous prisoner to be held in the Bell Tower was James Scott, the Duke of Monmouth. He was the eldest of the 13 illegitimate children of King Charles II. This handsome and popular young man of the day was persuaded to stake a claim to his father's throne by virtue of his uncle being King James II, who was also a known Roman Catholic. Well, at the time, he was living in Holland. To press home his claim to his father's throne, he landed in the west country of England with his army and marched inland. That's me with my gun, marching inland. And he gathered, or he attempted to gather, popular support from the Protestants in what would be known as the Monmouth Rebellion. This revolt was crushed on the Battle of Sedgemoor on the 6th of July 1685. However, the Duke escaped the battle and remained captured until 1 week later, where he was found hiding in a ditch, condemned to death in his absence. There was no need for a trial, and so 3 days later he was led out to the Tower here and up onto Tower Hill, in what, ladies and gentlemen, would turn out to be the bloodiest execution in English history. On the day of the execution, full-time alcoholic and part-time executioner, a good combination really, Jack Ketch, he attempted to use 5 strokes of the executioner's axe, hitting his shoulders, hitting his spine, even taking off the top of his head. He botched the job so much, ladies and gentlemen, he had to resort to his trusty butcher's knife, pulling it out, showing it to the crowd. And it's then when he started to cut through sinews, cut through veins, cut through muscle, till eventually their head was severed from the body. Both their head and the body were returned back into the town of London, and they were buried under the altar of the Chapel Royal of St. Peter of Vincula. And I'll show you where he is buried later on in the tour. Now, ladies and gentlemen, where have all my smiles gone? Better. I'm only scraping the surface on executions. I've got more to tell you about later on. So, my little private army, are you ready to move? Shall we go to Traitor's Gate?
Yes.
Okay, make a gap for me right here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to lead you to Traitor's Gate. Plenty of room around this side, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to move around. Because up until the year 1275, the River Thames actually washed up against the base of that inner wall. However, you are now stood in front of the most famous, or should I say, infamous gate in the world. Give me a good, Traitor's Gate. But it was built on the orders of King Edward I, because he required a safer and far more useful entrance into the Tower of London, rather than travelling through those dung-infested streets of London, where convoys were attacked, stores were stolen, and prisoners were set free. He decided instead to use the River Thames as a highway. So, in order to gain access into the Tower of London, he had to have a hole knocked through his outer defensive wall. So at high tide, boats, including the royal barge, could gain access very, very quickly and very, very safely. Therefore, this gateway was originally known as the Watergate. Thinking of Watergates? Thinking of Watergates? If there's any Americans here today, give me a yeehaw! Yeehaw! Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Anyone from America today, give me a yeehaw! Yeehaw! Good to see you all, my American friends. Just so you know, I'm not going to be mentioning much more about the Watergate. I'm not going to be talking about the Liberty Ballet or the Boston Tea Party. But just think, yeah, you won't get now. Just think my American friends are going to pay your taxes. All this could have been yours. So, for anyone here today from Europe, where are you from? Where are you from? Well done. Is there anybody else from Europe? There's no one from Germany today? Yeah. Where are you from, sir? Couldn't tell. Well done. Oh, Spain. Well done, sir. Anyone else from Europe? No one from France today? There we go, yeah. Cheers for that. There's the entrance. Is there anybody from Australia? Yeah. Give me a good day. Good day. Welcome home, guys. Good to see you. Which part of Tasmania are you from, sir? Oh, that's touched a nerve there. Just so you know, your return journey, you don't need to go back out from Tracey. Alright, okay. Is there anyone here today from England? Hey! So why didn't you all answer up when I said this? Oh, well done, the Scottish. Well done, the Scottish. Have I missed anybody else?
Canada!
It's always the Canucks that are last. I spent 2 years of my life in Canada, guys, when I was based there. Came out to Calgary Airport. The first thing I saw was a giant sign. Drink Canada Dry. I don't like ginger ale, but you know what? I give it my best shot. 2 years. Work that one out. Is there anyone here today from Tibet? I am every day and still here. I'm going to get some. Have I missed anybody else? No, so I've caught you all. Welcome. Anyway, where you're all from. Unless, of course, you don't want to speak up. Where? I've said America. Right, there's the exit. See you later. Right, for those of you that were listening, let's get back to the story. Its name changed to Traitors' Gate during the Tudor period. There were large numbers of alleged traitors that, of course, entered this mighty fortress through these grim gates, and amongst them were 4 queens of England. Queen Anne Boleyn, Queen Catherine Howard, the 5th wife of King Henry VIII, Lady Jane Grey, the uncrowned queen of only 9 days, and of course, Princess Elizabeth Tudor, who would later go on to become crowned and become Queen Elizabeth I. These, unlike so many other poor unfortunate souls, would have travelled along the River Thames after their trial at either the London Guildhall or the Palace of Westminster. They would have come through this gateway, landed on these steps. And it would have been right about here, ladies and gentlemen, where they would have been met by an escort of handsome young mourners. Thank you, ladies. Who would, of course, been led by the Yeoman jailer, who would have been carrying his giant in his hands, who would have led the prisoners through the Bloody Tower archway and onto their cells, of course, to await their fate. Most short journey out to the tower and up onto their place of execution. Behind you, indeed, is the Bloody Tower. The Bloody Tower has gone by many names over the years. It was originally known as the Garden Tower, as it once gave access to the lieutenant. Really, really nice and majestic garden. If you don't want to know about the flowers, do you? You're all too bloodthirsty, is that right? Yeah. William Shakespeare has written about the Bloody Tower many, many times, giving it the nickname the Tower of Blood. Queen Elizabeth I liked that name so much that she changed it to the Bloody Tower, of course, to commemorate the many atrocities that have taken place in that tower. And of course, the most tragic being the alleged murder of the 2 boy princes in 1483. It is alleged that they were smothered to death whilst living in that tower. Their tiny bodies, and there you can see one of them in the window, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a wave. Give him a wave. Yeah, there you go. And there, ghosts do exist in the Tower of London. I promise you, I just couldn't time that. There we go, there's another one. There's more boy princes too. Their tiny bodies, ladies and gentlemen, would have been bundled down the spiral staircase of the Wakefield Tower, which was buried beneath the pile of stone. The following morning, an unknown priest moved their bodies and buried them under the secret staircase on the south side of the White Tower. And there they remained for 119 years, until 1674, when workmen discovered a chest. Happy! They discovered a chest of gold! No. When they opened the chest, they discovered the bones of 2 small boys. Experts of the game declared they were innocent. So, at orders of the king, their bodies were moved from the Tower of London to Westminster Abbey, where they were interred into Innocents' Corner. It's there, they still remain to this day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be charging through the bloody Tower Archway shortly. Charge being a military term, but that's not hanging around. I'm not hanging around because the rope's holding that parkour is sort of 700 years old. So I suggest you don't hang around. So, we're going to go to Tower Green now, ladies and gentlemen, where I'm going to tell you about some of the executions that have taken place inside the Tower of London. So, is my army with me? Yes! Shall we steal the crown jewels? Yeah! No, I was supposed to say no there.